Hello and good afternoon, my fellow dog sports fans. How are you this Friday? So we are going to be talking about weekend warriors, so you don't become too much of a warrior with regards to your dog. So if you are here, please say hello. Make sure you guys can all hear me, and let's get going. Bob, hello, how are you? I see some nice things that's coming along with Ego. Ooh, awesome stuff. So I'm really excited about Bob's work. So let's get going. Weekend warriors. Of course, just before we start, I'm Angela Hearn. I'm a certified K-9 athlete specialist and myofascial release practitioner. I love my job. I love it. And you can find me at the Biokinetic K-9. Let's see. So what is a weekend warrior? If I can start maybe explaining it with a human, if you take a lot of my work, and especially now during COVID times, I've had 2 surgeries. I've been very sedentary. I'm sitting most of the time. I'm at my PC and etc., etc. And I do very little physical activity at the moment. But as soon as you want to go out, or if you've been away from the gym and you suddenly go back, there's many people that will go where they left off. So they're back onto the treadmill and they will carry on where they left off. And they've just had this long stretch of no intense work really. Or people that are sedentary in the week and then they go to the beach and yes, it's going to have a big game of volleyball and they play this game quite intensely, and just to see if they've still got it. Do they still have all that they had in their youth type of thing? And these people then overwork. And they are left either feeling really sore, or they may have incurred a small injury, a strain or sprain or whatever, but you get those sore muscles and you laugh at yourself the next day as you struggle around the house, even just to go to the bathroom. You think you're looking quite comical. As I said to my daughter, she went back to the gym after a big break because she was also injured, and she went back to the gym and she was walking around next to, she couldn't straighten her legs. I said, oh my word, Phoebe, you're walking around like a newborn calf. It was like hysterical to watch, and we laughed about it. But yes, this is what happens. So your weekend warrior, basically what it is, you don't do too much activity in the week, and on the weekend you going out to the beach, or you're out with friends and you play a game, or you go back to the gym after a long delay and you just carry on where you left off it, because wow, the mind is really willing, but the flesh, it's not so much there. But now that muscle soreness that we get, normally we get it the next day, and on the second day it's even worse. Why are you sore? So basically what happens is your body is not conditioned for the demands of the volleyball game you've just played, because you're not doing it all the time. Or you go to the gym and your body's not conditioned for the workout that you just before. So what happens now is, because your body is not that conditioned, it feels the strain that you've placed on it. And you get something called delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. It's really common. Bob, you just went through this with you and Ego. You started back slowly. Yes, 100%. So you had people and you had construction happening and you couldn't train for almost 2 weeks. And your whole routine was out of kilter. And to get back, so right, you are so right. You can't just carry on where you left off. And you even mentioned how surprised you were at how much less muscle Ego had just after 2 weeks of not training. And it was visible to the eye. You noticed it. And you quite correctly went back, and you didn't start where you left off. You got him back into it. But we also noticed that it was really, really, if I saw your post today in our group, how quickly he recovered. But you didn't start where you finished off. You started slower, but the recoup of those results were quite fast. So this is what happens when you are doing a proper program and you're doing proper training and fitness with your dog. Anything lost comes back a lot quicker. Yes, you notice in one section session he was becoming fatigued, and so you backed off more. Perfection. Exactly that. You cannot push them, and it would have been something that you were doing before, but now he's getting tired because he's not used to it. He's been living the sedentary life. And then just to go back and train like that, quite right, you need to back up. You need to notice those signs of fatigue. Ooh, you are so cool. Correct. So we are near, why are your muscles sore? And we said you get delayed onset muscle soreness. It's actually a term called DOMS. It's very common. And we all get it. So unless we are exercising regularly, we get this delayed onset of muscle soreness. And like I said, you get it the next day, but definitely on day 2, for sure. Sometimes day 2 is worse than day 1. And the only way you escape your delayed onset of soreness is if you exercise regularly and you can become a little bit stronger. So if you take, for example, you start in the gym, for the first week or 2, your body really gets sore. And then if you keep on doing the exact same exercises, you can do it for longer without any soreness the next day at all. So if you are exercising more regularly, or if you're stronger to handle the impact of the sports that you're doing, that delayed onset of muscle soreness starts going away. But when you're just starting out, or if you're just doing it haphazardly here and there, that delayed onset of muscle soreness, it sets in. And it's funny for us because we know why it's happened. It's not so funny for your dog. But worse than also, if you are just this weekend warrior, you not doing too much, and then on the weekend you go and do something extra, you have a real good chance. The risk is much higher for an injury to occur. Some injuries may be a little bit minor, so you may have sprained something and it sort of heals itself within a few days, but some of them can be really serious, where you tear a muscle or you tear a tendon. And it's just that if you are only working out at these intense times on a weekend, and in the week you're not doing too much, that risk increases for the injury, but then it also doubly increases if you are a little bit older and your immobility is higher than somebody else that maybe is a little bit active in the garden. So say now you've got a desk job in the week and suddenly you're on the beach. You can sort of handle these things a little bit easier when you're younger, but as you get older, it becomes really a lot more difficult to cope with. How does DOMS and delayed onset of muscle soreness affect the dogs? It's very, very similar. So what happens in humans, if we are only training here, there, and not regularly, the same thing happens with our dogs. Dogs have the same susceptibility to muscle soreness and injury as normal people. Bob, oh, so true. Yes, absolutely. Oh, so true. So for dogs, they are also susceptible for sore muscles and injury. They are, by nature, amazing athletes. I am in awe by a dog's movement almost every day, especially when they have that control over their body. My eyes just go, oh, I can't. I love it. So they are amazing athletes, and they do prefer by nature to be active. But many times they are constrained or due to the environment that they have to spend the day in, or the families that they're with, because sometimes the families are at work and they can't do too much with their dog in the week. So a dog hasn't got too much say in the exercises that he can get. He's got these constraints. And especially with humans that have a really busy work life and there's not much time and they don't do much training in the week, if they do any training or exercise with the dog at all, then what happens is on the weekend, the guilt sets in on the human. And they think, oh, the shameless poor dog, he's happy to see us every day, but we're not doing anything with the dog. And so what happens? You get this guilt trip that goes out. So either you go out and do some training, or we go out to the beach and we throw the ball for the dog until the dog can hardly even, but the dog wants to play because the mind is willing. And especially for our active dogs, the minds are willing. They want to run. It's in their nature to be active. So we got the weekend guilt that sets in, and you want to do everything with your dogs. Throw the ball, go to the beach, run in the sand, go run up the hill. Oh, let the dogs run. You know those people. And what happens? The dog, very, very similar to a human, they also get sore and they get stiff and they can have an injury. But unlike a human, they can't just walk into the kitchen and go and get a painkiller. They're stuck with their sore, stiff body, and then next time you look out for them, they just wagging their tail, and that's it. So you got this guilt of not letting your dog out, and then you have this almost bad feeling of, oh, maybe you've done a little bit too much with the dog, but it's okay, at least he's done something. But that risk of injury is huge, and that's the last thing you want to do with your dog, the absolute last thing. So what can you do really? Well, you've got two choices with your dog. The first choice is, well, easy, exercise your dog. But now you're going to go, really, Angela? Didn't you just say people are working in the week? They don't have the time for this? But it doesn't have to be this whole big spiel. It's not like when we humans go to the gym for an hour and a half. When you exercise your dog, you can do it on most days, just a few things at a time. It doesn't have to be this huge thing. But just exercise them, even if it's a little bit at a time. It's better than zero. Just a little bit at a time. Get a program together for your dog. Make sure that it's age appropriate. You don't want to do something with an older dog that is good for a young dog. And you don't want to do something that's good for an adult dog, but not good for a puppy. So get a program together that is age appropriate. But also, more importantly, that is appropriate for your dog's current body condition. So even if you've got a sport dog, COVID has kept them in the house. You can't do as much, and you can't put those intense rigors of the sport onto your dog. You got to get them there slowly. So make sure that your program that you put together is appropriate for the current condition of your dog's body. Just like Bob did. She saw the condition of a dog go down just from 2 weeks of not training. And she's an avid trainer. I enjoy her training very, very much. And just after 2 weeks, no, she thought, let's start slowly. And you see the results, and the results happen quickly because the dog has got a previous conditioning background. But what happens is you get that dog, dog goes back up to its former condition quite quickly, but safely, and he gains more strength rather than wasting your time on a possible injury because you started too quickly. So do something a little bit every day. Make sure it is good for the condition of your body or your dog's body. And if you're doing a sport, make sure that it is appropriate for the sport that you're doing. Because when you go back to sport, you want to make sure that those areas of the body that is required in the dog sport is ready to take on the sport. Because you must know the dog, the mind's always willing. They are always the athlete. They are there, they're going. So look at the sport that you're doing and incorporate the exercises that's going to enhance your sport for your dog. Also, then make sure that these little exercises that you're doing during the week, that's not taking up your entire house, that's going to just take 5 to 10 minutes of your time. Make sure that you include all various exercises to ensure that your program is balanced. Every sport that you do creates imbalances. We've discussed this in the previous episodes. And you want to make sure that what you're doing at home during the week corrects and adjusts for these inconsistencies that the sport may incur. But also you want to get the dog in a good routine to keep his body balanced if he's just starting out and we're going to go back into training again. And we're not going to just go and run them into the ground on a weekend. So you want to include some balance in the program by including a little bit of a cardio exercise, some strength training, really, really important especially for our power sports and speed sports. You must have strength training, flexibility, and of course, don't forget to do some relaxing as well. So if you're going to be doing a lot of strength training, please make sure that there's time to relax. Let that penny drop, because that's what happens when they're relaxing. All those exercises, they think about it while they're relaxing, while they're sleeping. So a lot of knowledge occurs when you think, oh, the dog's not doing much. It's exactly the same as a human. When we have got a huge problem on our mind and we concentrating, you can't get a solution. The solution normally comes while you're walking around the block, or while you're making some tea, or while you're doing something completely different. The brain still works. The same happens with the dog. Riani, you say you can't agree enough. Absolutely. This is when all your hard physical training and things that you've been trying to teach your dog, it all gets disseminated, and it all gets thought over while they are asleep. If they sleep, yes, if they sleep, just to keep them, a little bit relaxed. Just while and that relaxing can just be walking and pottering around the garden. It can be even if you're going to take a dog for a relaxing walk. So a relaxing walk is not where you want to walk, but let the dog walk where they want to walk, so they can smell and sniff and see what's going on. So, like I said, number one thing that you can do is exercise your dog. This will help to prepare your dog for those weekends, so that it's not this huge big worry about an intense weekend. Let's go weekend warrior style. It's now going to be a much safer weekend for your dog. And the other option you can do, of course, is you cannot exercise your dog. Okay, it's not the best plan, but if you look at it in the week, if you can't exercise your dog, fine, then you can't exercise your dog. But then just remember that when you do take your dog out for that weekend activity, do the activities at a much lower intensity. Because what's happening is, if you're not exercising your dog in the week, you're not preparing that body for any exertion to be placed on it. It's not the best choice. You're actually preparing them for minimal exercise. That means that they cannot really cope with the stresses of the day. And the sad part is that there will be a risk of injury. And if an injury does occur, or worse, an illness does occur, then they don't have that reserve of stamina and reserve of body strength and condition to fight any illness or injury that they are having to recover from. And that's where they struggle. It takes longer for them to recover, and it's not so nice. So they will struggle to go to the bathroom outside, to go and do their toileting number ones and twos, or they will struggle to get up and say hello to you when you come home from work. And it's just, you're putting stresses on joints and skeletons when the muscles aren't strong. But at the same token, you can't take those weaker muscles and go put them through the mill for one day on a weekend. So if you can't exercise your dog, just remember that when you do go out on a weekend, just keep the intensity a little bit lower. It's not the ideal choice. So what should you do? Go for the first choice. Go for the first choice and exercise your dog. Even if it's just a little bit each day, you're doing your dog a huge favor. It's really important, and especially if you're doing a sport. Yeah, Riani, especially if your dog is doing a sport, it needs balance. So if you're going to be doing your sports training on the weekend, it's even more important for you to do some other exercise in the week. Not a lot, just to keep that dog's body in balance and prepared for the sport. So go for the first choice and do a little bit of exercise each day. You're doing your dog the biggest favor. If you're not too sure about what you can do and how to go about it, please contact me. This is what we do. We'll put a program for you. We'll put something together for you and help you through and teach you about the exercises. We're just doing, actually, my membership now, where I was asking them, what is it that there was post in our Biokinetic group, what's the one question you have? And there were some questions that were being asked, like where do we start? How do we know what exercises we should do? How do we know what exercises go with our sport? How do we incorporate it in the sport? And these were such awesome answers. And then we even got a question or a request, like, can't we go over the various exercises and see what muscles are we working, etc. And this is, for me, it's really good, because especially this time now, we've gone over a lot of the what to look for in injuries, how we do endurance, and how we do stamina, and how we do various strength trainings, and what you're looking for. So there's everybody in the group, and all the information there, you've got a really good solid foundation. So I thought this was such a good idea. And so we're going to be including an extra part in our membership on various exercises, what muscles they work, how they're working the dog, and how these are important for the various sports that we do, because not every exercise is required for every single sport. So you don't want to waste your time doing an exercise that's not really going to promote your sport. You want to do things that are targeted for your sport, because that you're doing a sport in order to improve what you're doing. So that's what we're going to be next week, Thursday, on the live. We are going to be starting a whole section of exercises for sport as well. So I'm really excited about that, and we're going to go through them all and we're going to pack them in. So if you want to learn a little bit more, please give me a call. We are the Biokinetic K-9. I trust you enjoyed the show. Our website is thebiokineticK9.com. Please give our page a thumbs up on Facebook. And if you're watching this program anywhere else on Facebook, because I've put it on a few of the groups, please go back to the Biokinetic K-9 Facebook page and give me a like, and I can help you with whatever the case may be. Or you can send me an email to fit@thebiokineticK9.com. So I've always got time for anybody that is interested in furthering their dog physically. That's where my passions lie. So let's see. Oh, thank you, Riani. Join our group, then you'll always have loads to do. Yeah. And Riani, you say you can't wait. No, nor can I. I'm really excited about this new part that we're going to add to our membership. This is why you guys are there. You guys are teaching me even more. Bob, let's see. That's what I want to know. What muscles to work? What are we are doing a select few and working on form with the ones we are doing a select few and working on form with the ones we are doing. Yes. But that's what we're going to be doing as well. What muscles to work and why? Why you have to work them? Where in your sport are those muscles being tested? So that you understand what you're doing when you exercise your dog. You don't want to just be doing exercises for your dog. It's like, oh, well, let me just do a couple of sits, and oh, well, let me just do one of these high fives, and oh, well, let me just do some front foot targeting, but you don't know why. The why, that's where the treasure lies. If you understand why, then you can think about loads of things that you can do to help your dog. So I'm hoping that I can help you with those. Otherwise, everybody, remember, you can contact me. All my info, let me put this here, is all my information. And I'm going to wish you an absolutely fantastic weekend. And I will see you next week. I wasn't here last week, it was a funeral. So next week, I will see you next week, Friday. All right. Have a super afternoon. Cheers, everybody.